Hello and a happy Gregorian New Year to all of you. We have Dominion World Cup action here with France against Canada, and I'm on the Canadian team, but I'm a substitute. Can't quite make the team. However, I did offer my services otherwise, one of which would be to document the games and maybe offer some pieces of advice. It'll also provide an opportunity for the members of the Team Canada to look at their gameplay and reflect upon it. I'll leave a link in the description below to the forum regarding more details about the World Cup. Uh, we are in a group of three, and the top two progress to the next round, the quarterfinals. So the first game I have here, I was only able to catch the last half of this match, the second half. So this is game four. The score stands at 3-love for the French. 3-love for the French. And we have quite an interesting board up on the table here. 5-2 for the French is quite good. The French is Emeric, by the way, and the Canadian is shaila, in case that wasn't clear. It's not clear to me that they are. So the 5-2 I think is much, much better here. So we see Catacombs and Coin of the Realm here for Emeric against a farmer's market and a conspirator for shaila. I don't really like the conspirator and the farmer's market there at all. The conspirator, okay, I could see that, but the farmer's market, I don't really see what it does for you here. The 5-2 is very, very easy, right? Catacombs and Coin of the Realm seems to be quite nice here in terms of what you want to build. So my thoughts looking at the board, right? Look, there's a lot of draw on the board. There's Smithy, Catacombs, Courtyard, Oracle, a bunch of draw cards. There's a bunch of villages as well, ports and coins of the realm. So there's no shortage of things to do there. In terms of drawing your deck, that's quite easy to do. And there's Conspirator there, which is the real power card on this board. A lot of money coming out from the Conspirators, and they're very easy to play, especially with ports coming down the line. Very, very easy to play here. The tricky part of the board here is the buy. The plus buy is in Farmer's Market, and that explodes sometimes, like Tragic Hero does from Nocturne. So that is a bit dicey. You have to keep that in mind. You would like to have more than one buy here, definitely, definitely. The question you have to ask yourself, well, how much do I really want here? Do I want two buys, three buys, four buys? I feel like somewhere between three and four is good, but you have to keep an eye on the pile, right? So we've seen here both players, they have gone after those farmers markets quite aggressively, quite aggressively. Um, I'm not entirely sure that's the right thing to do. We see Emeric here with the two catacombs, and Shayla still doesn't have any draw yet. This gold actually here, if you look at the chat, this is another thing that I can do, spectate, and I can give the chat to you all. This gold here, this could have easily been our catacombs to try to build up the draw. And why are you trying to build up the draw? Well, you want to hit conspirators as hard as possible, but you need to set up for that, right? Um, Best case scenario with a conspirator that you play it and you get the money. You play it, get the money, and get a card off of it. So opening with conspirator, definitely you're not gonna get that trigger without necropolis or something. So I feel like conspirators a little bit later into the piece, and you want to start building up your draw to get something reliable going so that you could stick those conspirators into play. So finally a catacombs here for Shayla, but I feel like that was the main downfall in the building here. That really slowed things down a bit, right? Draw is immense. It cycles you. It makes things more stable, especially with Coin of the Realm around. You're never gonna stall. Never ever going to stall. I think both players have two each at this point, which is a decent number of Coins of the Realm. As you get more stable, which means you start to put more ports and catacombs into your deck, even smithies are fine. You'll find that you don't need to rely on the coins of the realm as much. The ports and the smithies will usually come in a nice order, and you'll get to draw through your deck. Another feature of the board, I haven't mentioned it yet, but it's fairly obvious, is that there's no trashing whatsoever. So you really want to limit the amount of stop cards that you put into your deck. You're already starting with 10 of them. you're going to be buying green cards that is easily more than 10 of them there, 15 maybe. You've put coins of the realm into the deck, and your plus buy is non-terminal. A bunch of stop cards in the deck. So if you could really avoid putting something like the gold, especially on this board, you should go for it there. I think. I feel like you didn't necessarily need the money to purchase something that expensive. The most expensive thing would be catacombs, outside of province, of course. So both players they're moving into the middle of the game here. Uh, really, my opponent, not my opponent. I'm not playing. Shayla is playing. So Emeric is what I mean. They're a bit ahead here solely because they have more draw than Shayla. So here, Farmers Market gets popped for Shayla. This is the second one that she's popped. Uh, the chat told me it was a girl, so I'm gonna go with that. Shayla also sounds like a girl name. Not that I know anybody named Shayla. I know somebody named Sheila. Anyways, so she pops here, and with six, again, yeah, ports are fine, as well as scouting party. Um, with respect to scouting party, you need to be tracking your deck to use that very, very well. If you have a stall turn where you draw, maybe just a Catacombs Dead or something, it's fairly likely that you'll have all your good cards in the back. Maybe you don't want to buy a scouting party in that case. Maybe. It also helps with the cycling a lot, though. So definitely early game, some scouting parties could really push you ahead. And we see here not my opponent. I'm so accustomed to saying that. Emeric, the French man or the French person, strings together a bunch of catacombs here, uh, and a lot of farmers markets on his end. A lot of farmers markets. He empties the ports and picks up another farmers market here. Not sure you want to go that heavily into the farmers market. Look, I get it. The buy is limited and it'll blow up at some point, but I think he has something like five or six of them, and that's excessive in my mind. This is unfortunate. I think Shayla is out of farmers markets at this point, which is why she purchases another one here. I think that is the correct thing to do there, even on $8 to pick up that farmers market. And here, Emeric is gonna snuff out the last farmers market because this is what I was talking about here with the if you have a fairly stallish turn, then probably all your good cards are in the back, and they have coins of the realm on the mat. You didn't necessarily need to buy scouting party there. Courtyard may have been better. So all of this being said, neither of these players purchased a watchtower for this game, and that is something I would have considered early on, just for the purpose of top decking cards. In a deck like this, where it's variable, you're not 100% guaranteed to do things or like have a high percentage of stringing together your villages with your draw cards. It helps that you're able to top deck something like you know, port catacombs or some kind of draw card. Of course, the scouting party can't help with that, but the watchtower does that for not for free, but you pay three upfront once and you never have to spend again for scouting parties to guarantee that your next hand is going to be good. I also talked about conspirators. Only two have been purchased so far from both players. We see one here, and I think yeah, Shayla opened with the conspirator, right? Look, here is where all the farmers markets are, but okay, you get a lot of money from it and some points. I think he is able to play all of these, but he's not able to utilize all the buys. So, you know, on Shayla's side, she probably has too few, and I think on Emeric's side, he has too many. Um, of course, I think you would rather be the person with too many farmers markets, but I'm not sure about that even because, like I said, they're all stop cards. They contribute to making his deck a bit more unreliable than Shayla's. If you've noticed so far, she's been able to draw through up to most of her deck in these last few turns, as opposed to Emeric. Of course, he has the better deck because he has more draw and whatever on a bunch of farmers markets. But it highlights my point in that the farmers markets they don't help you draw, and you really want to have that draw going to be stable, to be reliable, to be able to do something consistently turn after turn, rather than just leave it up to the whimsy of the deck. So double province from Emeric, single province from Shayla. There she has a marginal lead here, but think with the extra draw power out of Emeric's deck and the hundreds of farmers markets, he will be able to deal with that lead appropriately. In the end, he'll be able to liquidate all of those farmers markets for points. Of course, in Shayla's position, she has to make sure, look, I'm not going to give this man time to use the money off of his farmers markets or to liquidate them for 4 VP. So in her position, I'd be looking to push the game towards its conclusion as best as possible. However, yeah, province here from Emeric makes that rather difficult, as well as the stall turn from Shayla. So she goes for a scouting party here, which is okay. I mean, you have to discard our port, which is not ideal, but whatever. You stick the cat to Combs and a conspirator back on top of your deck. And the end game here, it isn't particularly, tense because Emeric just holds his lead from here on and sees it through till the end of the game at this point. So yeah, a bit early into the piece, but Emeric comes through with the victory here. He's just able to get enough provinces regularly enough to shut Shayla out of the game. There's no other source of victory points aside from the obelisk pile, the poorhouses. You could go after those. That's 20 points in there, but again, the plus buy is limiting you from just emptying half of that pile in one shot. It's not so easy to do, especially with Shayla's limited buy. Again, in a position with the limited buy, yeah, you have to press the provinces. There's nothing else for you to do here. One other thing with the farmers market is that you could end up in a position where you leave the farmers market here, where there's 4 tokens on it, and no one might actually want to play their farmers market because they would lose it for that turn. Maybe, if the game went on long enough. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. So yeah, by this point, the end game is fairly well wrapped up for Shayla. There's not much she could do at this point. I think the building at the beginning of the game could have been a bit better. 3-4 for me. I'm not really sure what I would have picked up on 3-4. Maybe something like Smithy and Silver. I'm not sure. Smithy and Silver, that makes it fairly likely that you get up to 5. I Look, I could get behind the Conspirator opening, but not with a farmer's market. The farmer's market, okay, maybe you want to pick up coins quickly, which is, cheap villages, but there's also a port there, which is not that expensive as well. So maybe something like Smithy, Silver, and I would probably get something like 5 on 4, so catacombs, ports, maybe then look for a farmer's market or a watchtower or something. It's a bit tricky to build here. I'm not saying it's straightforward at all. When do you put the farmer's market into your deck? When do you put the watchtower into your deck? I like the watchtower. I really like the watchtower. I would play with it. I don't know if it's right, but I would try to play with it as best as possible here. 5-2 is very, very easy, right? Catacombs coin is a blessing. It's a great thing. You could even open Smithy coin if you like. You could do Smithy Watchtower too. But yeah, the farmers market and the conspirator early, you don't get the most use out of it, so I don't really think um, is the best time to purchase those things. So where are we? We're at 1 province left in the pile. Emeric just has to get there 18 points ahead. There's very, very little that Shayla could do in this position here. Very, very little she can do. Also, so your ideal deck state, you want to always have at least 1 coin at the realm on the mat. I said that before, I think to ensure that, look, you're not going to stall if you just draw a bunch of catacombs. Catacombs are a great card here, especially with the lack of trashing. You could just completely sift past a bad 3 cards, get you into better territory from here. So I think, yeah, here, Emeric actually comes up with the win with his, multitude of farmers markets. To go for love up in the match here. So I have a bit of a different setup. I decided to try surfing the internet with water, so I ruined my last laptop. So I have a new laptop using OBS to record this, trying a few different things. Let me know what you think about this, or let me know what you think about this style of, commenting Dominion matches. I'm not playing, I'm talking about other people play. So here's a bit of my thoughts on the match. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.